Hello comrades, thank you for clicking on this video. And today we are gonna talk about probably the most cruel serial killer in Soviet Union. Hi everyone. Hi all the ASMR and true crime lovers. So yeah, today we're gonna talk about Andrei Chikatilo. Growing up, I heard this name so often that it was basically like a synonym to me. Maniac, serial killer, Chikatilo. And what makes this story especially thrilling and horrifying to me is the fact that my dad grew up in Rostov-on-Don, which is the capital of Rostov Oblast, and it was 40 kilometers, 20 miles away from everything that I'm gonna tell you about today. Just imagine my dad being a little boy walking down the streets in the USSR, and this man roaming somewhere around. It just makes it so real and so scary to me, so horrifying. So you are probably wondering, how was Chikatilo so cruel? Maybe you've never heard about him, but let's talk about Jeffrey Dahmer. 17 victims, yeah. Creepy, cruel stuff. Ted Bundy, 30 victims. Cruel stuff. Chikatilo, he confessed. He admitted that he murdered 56 people. 56. Why? How did it happen? That's what you are gonna learn about today. Chikatilo was born in 1936 in a small Ukrainian village called Yablочное, like an apple one. Yeah. As any other serial killer, he had a severely traumatic childhood. He was raised during the time of Stalin repressions, hunger, famine, World War II. His mother was a very cruel woman. Andrei struggled with urine incontinence, and if you studied true crime, you probably know that it's a big red flag. Usually these, not all of them, but most of the serial killers had troubles with urination. Yeah, but yeah, she would beat him because he wet his bed. It stopped only when he turned 12 or 13. He probably witnessed mass shooting, mass execution of the villagers by Nazis. He probably witnessed his mother being assaulted by a German soldier. So it was not a summer camp, his childhood, for sure. He went to school in 1942, and he was bullied by other classmates. Andrei was very, very skinny, malnutritioned, weak, timid, myopic boy. And in 1946, when there was another wave of famine, he stopped going outside. Why? Because his mother scared him. She would tell him stories about his brother being eaten by the locals. And of course, people were starving. There probably were cases of cannibalism. We are not sure, but it was never proven that Chikatilo had an older brother. No birth certificates, nothing. So the woman, his mother, was just probably trying to scare him. Why? I don't know. She was probably mentally ill as well. His father led a local partisan movement during the World War II, and he was captured and then released by American soldiers. But during the repression time, after the war ended, he was repressed and died in Siberia, in like a gulag. Yeah. It was Stalin repression time. Snitches didn't get stitches. Snitches survived. Yeah. So, yeah, you can imagine his childhood was just horrible. I feel sorry for the little boy. But then growing up, after he reached puberty, he faced these issues of being intimate, and he, if you know what I mean, and he would only be able to get satisfaction after being violent and cruel. There was an instance of him trying to assault a girl from his school, but I guess nobody really paid attention to it. People didn't have time, to analyze. They didn't have therapy and all of that. So he continued studying. He graduated school with a medal, so he was an exceptionally good student. After that, he tried to get enrolled in Moscow State University, but he wasn't accepted. He failed. He thought that it was because of his background, his father being repressed. But who knows, maybe it happened because he wasn't good enough, right? We don't know. So he went to community college, then he served in the army. He spent four years there, and we also do not know this for sure, but he was probably abused, assaulted by other men in the military. After he got out, his sister acquainted him to her friend, and they got married. Feodosia, his wife's name was Feodosia. We don't know much about their marriage. But they had 2 kids, and Andrei was told to be a good father, actually. After getting married, he studied in multiple universities. He studied philology, engineering, pedagogy. He worked as an engineer, a journalist at a local newspaper. He graduated Rostov State University, which was a good prestigious establishment. And in 1970, he and his wife, they moved to Novoshakhtinsk. There he worked as a teacher. He taught Russian literature, and he even worked as a principal at a local school. But it didn't last long. He was asked to leave, to quit. He wasn't fired, he quit on his own because of two students complaining about him. He tried to assault them, two young girls. And after that, he moved to Novocherkassk, another town in Rostov region, Rostov Oblast. He worked as a head of the metals department at electric locomotive plant, and this job was very convenient for his misdeeds, for the things he would do later, because he had to travel from one little town to another, and his victims were all over the region. So his first murder happened in 1978. It was a 9-year-old girl named Yelena. So I'm not gonna name you all the kids, all the victims of his and I'm definitely not gonna describe the things he did to these poor people. If you want to, you can find it on the internet. The descriptions are very graphic, very cruel, but I don't think YouTube will approve, and I don't want to pronounce these things with my mouth. But all of his murders were brutal, so cruel. He would mutilate, dismember, eat, assault, of course, all of them. His victims were young women, usually SEX workers, and young kids. Well, I don't know. I didn't pronounce the word SEX, but kill, murder, dismember. Well, I don't know. But yeah, there were sex workers and kids, both boys and girls. After the first murder, he waited for 3 years. There was an innocent man actually executed for killing Yelena. His name was Alexander Kravchenko. So when Chikatilo found out about that, he started killing again. In 1982, he killed seven kids. He would usually look for his victims at bus stops. He was trying to find children that moved from one settlement to another. So it would take time to find their bodies. As I said, it was extremely cruel, the things that he did. His nickname, by the way, was the Rostov Butcher, or the Reaper of Rostov. So I guess you can imagine, extremely sadistic. Why wasn't he caught? Well, it was hard because of he would choose randomly in random towns, villages in the region. There was also another serial killer, Konstantin Cheremushkin. He was executed in 1993. Yeah, but that one, I guess he only killed 4 or 5 people. But yeah, also, by the time when he gained the power, and when he started doing it regularly, there was a huge crisis in Soviet Union, and just, I guess he was lucky in a way. There were many suspects that were interrogated. Authorities even tried to sentence an innocent man who was mentally debilitated, like mentally challenged. I skip a lot of details because this case is huge. The investigation process, there are so many documentaries. If you want to, you can learn more thoroughly. But yeah, there were attempts to merge the cases, to build a psychological portrait of Chikatilo. They didn't succeed. The crazy thing happened in 1984. Andrei was actually stopped by a policeman and searched. His bag was searched, and the policeman found a rope, 2 bars of soap, a kitchen knife, and Vaseline. You're thinking that's the year where he was caught and sentenced. No. He said that all these things he needed for his work as an engineer, and he was let go, and the policeman let him go. After that, he killed another 21 people. Yeah, after his first arrest. So imagine. Just crazy to think about. But the last year of his frenzy was 1990. And yeah, also the last year of Soviet Union existing. His last murder took place on November 6th. And after committing that crime, he was actually seen by a policeman in the woods. He was roaming in the forest, and he told that he was actually just picking mushrooms. But it was suspicious because he was wearing a suit. Who is picking mushrooms wearing a suit, right? So the authority worker, the cop, wrote down his last name. Few days later, a corpse was found. So they rushed to arrest Andrei. And it's also very interesting the way he was arrested, because one of his last victims, Victor Tishchenko, he was like a 16-year-old guy. He bit his finger and he broke it. So Andrei decided to go to the doctors and get an X-ray. And he was arrested leaving the hospital. Well, in his house there were found 23 knives, a hammer, ropes, and all of that. He only confessed on 11th day of his interrogation. So he admitted that he killed 56 people. But in the court, there were only 52 of them proven because they didn't have enough evidence. But I imagine that he didn't lie about the number. Of course, he was sentenced to the death penalty. Right now in Russia, we have moratorium on death penalty, but back then it was still existing. While waiting for the execution, he was told to be very energetic. He would eat all of his meals, exercise, and he also applied a lot of complaints where he asked for mercy. He even wrote directly to the Boris Yeltsin, the first president of the Russian Federation. But yeah, of course he wasn't forgiven, thanks God. And on February 14th, in 1994, he was executed by shooting. I'm not sure how I should end this video. I don't think you relaxed a lot because of the things I was talking about, but I hope it was interesting. Thank you for watching. I hope my speech wasn't very abrupt, and just be safe. Thank you for supporting my channel. Goodbye, comrades.